Or have you heard the latest? Apparently, Labour's net zero levies are set to become the main culprit to our sky high energy bills next year, which will more than likely mean it will be sending us back to this place behind me. There's no doubt, of course, that will more than likely impact everything, including the cost of living crisis as it currently is. Apparently, it's even higher than gas prices for the first time ever. And according to the people at Cornwall Insight, green tax and upgrades to the electricity grid will make up a whopping 60% of our energy bills from April 2026. And that is, of course, way more than the actual cost of energy itself. And this news has unsurprisingly come as a bit of a blow to Ed Miliband, the current, shall I say, Energy Secretary. Who knows how long it'll be before he gets replaced, although wouldn't that be a brilliant Christmas present, along with Keir Starmer and his very wooden cabinet. But he has apparently been saying that gas prices are the real reason for our hefty bills, and he's been going on for ages, it seems, about how our reliance on fossil fuels is to blame. But there's a little problem there, Ed, because Craig Lowry from Coral Insight has a different take on all this. He reckons that the wholesale prices aren't actually the issue anymore. The real squeeze is coming from those rising non-energy costs, thanks to levies and policies decisions tied to renewable investments. And brace yourselves, because Cornwall Insight is predicting that their electricity bills will skyrocket next spring, to wait for this, to a whopping £1,800. And part of this, apparently, is due to the cost of upgrading UK pylons, power cables and substations. See, right now, our average household power and gas bills are sitting at £1,755, but they'll dip by a mere £22 in January before jumping back up to £1,808 from April, which is the last thing we all need, isn't it? And Cool Insight explains that this increase is mainly because of rising charges for running and maintaining the country's energy networks, especially electricity transmission and gas distribution. And it seems like this trend is here to stay, unfortunately, with wholesale energy prices, once, of course, the big boss of our bills expected to drop to less than 40% of the cap and stay there for the rest of the decade. But of course, there is apparently more to all this, because they reckon that the forecasts includes a new levy averaging £10 per household to help fund the construction of the Sizewell C nuclear power station in Suffolk. And all these price hikes are adding to the pressure on Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, of course, to tackle the soaring costs of Mr. Miliband's net zero mission, which obviously, I don't know about you, I seem to remember something where Ed Miliband was promising to help out overseas climate emergencies by a whopping 11 point whatever it was billion pounds. So perhaps she could claw that money back in by saying, no, Ed, don't be a bellend, and therefore we could do with that money ourselves, couldn't we? Labour have got their own money worries, as we all know, don't we? And with May's elections for the Scottish and Welsh governments and many English local authorities just around the corner, or a few months down the line really, there is actually growing concern that the Energy Secretary's net zero price rises will hit energy bills right before voters head to the polls. I personally think if they do, then that'll be another nail in the Labour coffin, surely. The Conservatives and Reform are both vowing to make energy costs a key part of their campaigns, something which, if I remember rightly, Labour also done in 2024. In fact, didn't they say to bring it down by £300 a year? Surely they caught their ups and downs the wrong way round, just like they seem to have their U-turns and whatever else, eh? Claire Clitheroe, the Shadow Energy Secretary, isn't holding back on this. She is pointing out that Ed Miliband's promised to cut the bills by £300, but instead, struggling households are facing yet another rise this year. She is saying it's clear as day that Labour energy policies just don't cut bills, and they obviously don't, especially when the words net and zero have a key part in that, surely. Because obviously these solar panels, windmills and whatever else cost a bit of money. But as we gear up for the budget, there might be a teeny weeny little sign of hope, because apparently there are few rumours going about that, whilst admittedly it'll be the nightmare before Christmas budget, there is a bit of hope that Miss Reeves might slash energy bills by £200 by getting rid of the 5% VAT on power and gas bills, even though of course that is still only 5%, but a discount is better than a kick in the balls, isn't it? But The UK has been dealing with some of the highest energy costs in the world since, of course, the 2022 energy crisis. And since then, the average bills have shot up from £1,179 in the autumn of 2029 to £1,755 today. And whilst the initial squeeze apparently was due to a gas price surge, costs are now being kept high mainly by 11 or so levies and other policy costs used to fund renewable expansions. But get this, quite worryingly, household energy debts have already ballooned from £2 billion 3 years ago to £4.4 billion this summer, with Bargina, who apparently are an energy consultancy, warning that'll hit £6 billion by 2026, which obviously is only a few months away, isn't it? Bargina, which also has access to the debt books of major suppliers, suggests that a quarter of UK households will struggle a bit to pay the gas and electricity bills this winter. So it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Just what were the government saying about this? Well, quite coincidentally, a spokesperson for the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero acknowledged that energy bills are still too high and mentioned that the government is taking urgent action to support families this winter, including expanding the £150 warm discount to 2.7 more households. But yes, remember though, the winter fuel allowance did and still hasn't been paid to nowhere near as many people as it has before, eh? But they are saying that the only way to bring down the energy bills for good is with their clean energy superpower mission, which obviously, personally, I think they are, completely wrong. But we'll just have to wait and see, won't we? Let me know what you all think down in the comments.